All right, I hope you're excited to improve this carousel right here. And in order to do that better, there are several things that we need to do. First of all, I've zoomed in so you guys can see better the DevTools in Chrome. And if you want to do it yourself, you can simply click anywhere inside DevTools Elements panel and then just hold down Control and scroll your mouse wheel button forwards to zoom in or backwards to zoom out. Okay, next thing, we're gonna position it a little bit better than this setup right here because our focus is on this horizontal area of our web page, and it makes sense to actually preview it in the top area of the browser window and have the DevTools in the bottom area. So in order to do that, we'll just click this button right here, and we'll click the dock to bottom icon. And what we're gonna get is pretty sweet. We get the elements, the HTML preview in the left side of our DevTools, and we've still got access to all the CSS properties, CSS declarations in the right hand pane. So we're gonna target this section right here because that's what we want to work on. And more specifically, we want to work on this this area right here, where we've got 3 items. Now, as you can see, these classes are being changed by Bootstrap JavaScript. So there are several ways to deal with this. We can stop JavaScript from executing. We can pause it, we can turn on the debugger and so on, but we're not going to go into that advanced kind of stuff. There's really no need for it, but rather I'm actually going to open this middle carousel item where it says Janine Doe, because that's the one that has the most, and when I click it you can see it's highlighted. So that's the one that has the most text, and that shows the problem that we can face if we leave our carousel like this, because it's not obvious that this could be a problem. If you look at, for example, this carousel right here, where you've got only 2 short words for the name and then 2 short words for the description here. So in order to see how our carousel is going to behave, we're simply going to dynamically delete these 2 carousel items inside DevTools, and we're gonna then work with only 1 carousel item, this middle one left. So I'm simply going to click in here and then press the delete button on my keyboard, and that's gonna remove the first carousel item, of course dynamically, meaning it's not saved. And I'm also going to remove this one by clicking on it and then pressing delete. And effectively what we've done is we've stopped the carousel from advancing, because it only has 1 slide, so it can't go anywhere. Okay, so now that we've taken care of setting up our window, our browser window, we're also going to make changes live in browser, and then we're going to add them to Visual Studio Code, so that way you can see better what's going on. Okay, so we're going to change our carousel in 2 completely different ways. The first way we're going to change it, I'm going to show you right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to go and twirl open this div right here, carousel-item, because that's the focus of this video. And now I'm actually going to wrap the image class inside another div. Okay, so simply I'm going to right click on its parent element and click edit as HTML. Okay, and now I'm going to press enter right here and type div class equals d-flex, which will turn on the display flex property. And now I'm going to simply close it after the IMG. Okay, so that's step number 1. So now that I've done this, we get this situation right here. So next thing to make this actually work is I'm going to actually type justify dash content dash center. Okay, so that's going to center our items. And next we can now change our CSS, and the reason why I'm going to change the CSS is simply because as it is right now we've got max width of 100% and height of auto, and instead of that I'm going to say max width 200 pixels and height to 200 pixels as well. 200 pixels as well. Okay, so that's taking care of the first thing. Next, I need to take care of the carousel caption CSS. So when I click in here, I can see that the carousel caption is positioned absolutely. And we are going to change that to relative. And you can already see we're getting a good effect right here. And next, we're simply going to turn off this. So right, bottom, left, all of them are going to be turned off. And padding top is going to be 0. We're going to increase padding bottom to, let's say, 50 pixels. And I think we're good enough. We're in good shape. The only issue that I have now is that my IMG thumbnail is still misbehaving a little bit. So the reason for it is this W-25. So if I just turn this class off without actually deleting it, I'll get the desired effect. And one handy trick is to actually add the X, capital X character on any class that you want to temporarily turn off just for testing purposes. And you can even save it in your code, and later on you'll be able to ascertain what change was made to your code, and you'll be able to backtrack the reasoning for the changes that you made. So if I type the X character at the end of the class that I want to turn off, I get my desired effect. Now the reason this thing works is pretty simple. There is no class of W-25X in Bootstrap's CSS. So you can pretty much do the same thing to any other class and see what's going to happen. So it's kind of nice to be able to pretty much on the fly turn off CSS classes without deleting them, and still have access to these classes really easy if you want to turn them back on. So you simply go IMG thumbnail X, and then when you want to get it back, it's good for quick tests that are also non-destructive, that are going to stay the way they are in your source code. Okay, so now we've made our changes, so we can add them to our Visual Studio Code. And we're going to start, we're not going to just copy paste, but we're rather going to go through this procedure again. So let's look at what we've got. We've got carousel dash item active, and then we've got d-flex justify dash content dash center. So back in here, I can go and actually find the carousel example indicators. Carousel item active. Okay, so we've added a div right here with the class of, let's close that div first. Always remember to close your divs and any other tags as soon as you open them. Okay, so we're gonna go d-flex, and let's just copy it. It's gonna be faster. Justify content center Control C, Control V, save, and make sure you don't refresh your browser, because if you refresh before you actually added all the changes, you're gonna lose them. So let's see what else we've done. We pretty much just changed this thing here. So back in the code, we're just gonna add X, Control S, and back in here we can click on the image to see the changes here. The only changes that we really made are 200 pixels max width and 200 pixels height. So I'm just going to copy this, go back to code, and we need to open our main.scss. So back in here, we can just Control V to paste. Since these are pretty much the same, we're just gonna delete them. And here, I'm not gonna say max width and height, but I'm rather gonna say max width and max height. Control S. Back in here, we also need to take care of the carousel caption. So the code was right here, so I'm gonna copy it back in code, paste it in, and we're gonna say, because we need to override what we had, we need to specify this as zeros. Okay, and now that I've done these changes, I only need to change padding, and Z index is gonna stay the same, so we can delete it. Color and text align center are all gonna stay the same, so we're gonna Control S to save. Back in here, I can go refresh, and now we've got almost the result that we want. The reason why it's not perfect yet is because we actually didn't take into account that the changes need to be made to all other carousel items. So the same way that we've done this, Control C, we also need to do it in other items as well. So I'm going to Control V here and then just add the closing div. Okay, and now back in here, same thing, we're gonna paste over this section with the new code, and I'm going to close this div, Control S to save, and now let's refresh one more time, and perfect. We've got the exact look that we wanted. Well, sort of, because initially the idea was to have the image on the left and the text on the right. So we're going to do another version of this code, and we're going to actually make it behave exactly like that. But first, let's press Control S here to save it, and then Alt F8 to save it as, and we're gonna save it as block quote 2. Okay, Control S, block quote 2. So now that it's saved, we're gonna start making the third block quote. So we're gonna begin with pressing Alt F8 again and immediately saving it as block quote 3, so we can see the difference. And now back in here, we are going to make our changes. So first of all, let's look at what we need to do.